Okay, what do we have here? This is Beth again with another YouTube Pagan Challenge video. Question number 14. What does magic mean to you? And that's magic with a K for me. I like to use that distinction of the K to define itself from things like David Copperfield. Is it David Copperfield? I don't remember what his name is. Yeah, magician people who are not magic with K magicians. What does magic mean to me? I think magic for me is something that spills over into the mundane, into regular life. It's not just something I do within ritual or when I'm trying to work something, whether it's, say, a crystal grid, a reading for a client, a reading for myself, ritual, did I say ritual? Ritual. You know, consecrating things. It's not just that kind of stuff. It's very much something that at this point in time runs throughout my whole life. It's not just a single aspect of it that is regulated to this section of my life. And I think the magic of the mundane is often dismissed as something that is just, it's every day, so you don't notice it. You don't bring that magic into, say, cooking dinner. You're nourishing yourself there, you're nourishing your body, you're nourishing your mind. That can be very much a magical act if you choose to make it so. The daily rituals can be magical, rituals of cleansing if you choose to do so. So I really like to see it as a thread that runs throughout everything, not just segments of my life, but through all aspects, and really bringing it into those aspects. And I think as I was scrolling through my YouTube, watch this video kind of thing. They had what's her name, Gabby Bernstein one. It's not a spell, it's manifestation. I'm like, it's a spell. Manifestation is spell work, people. Especially if you're going by like the Crowley definition, which, what is it? Your will. Getting a... If I wouldn't have thought about it, I could quote it. I can't think of it now. Basically, the gist of it is you using your will within magical acts to get an outcome. And that's what manifestation is. But you know, you have that aspect of it too. And I think people kind of get freaked out when you say it's a spell, because spells are bad. And I think spell work, manifestation, being in the flow, whatever you want to call it, is all part of magic with a K. It's there, and I think a lot of people shy away from that word because they're afraid of it. I think there's a connotation that gets conjured up in people's mind of magic and darkness and the bad things, and it can be that for some people, but I think the majority of people are responsible magic users. They're not out there flinging curses because, you know, you annoyed them. But yeah, I think large part is just absorbing the whole aspect into life. It's not just something that happens. Magic happens in the garden. It happens wherever you go. Driving down the street can be a magical act. Walking down the street can be a magical act. Anything, if you choose to do it with intent, can become an aspect of magic. It's not just something that is relegated to, you know, tarot decks, oracle cards, use of runes or ritual. Why those things definitely do have their place within, you know, life, and my life too as a witch. And like, this is a magical act. This was created with a distinct intention. And things like that are also kind of the anchors that can bring us out of the mundane and into the magical, or the magical in out of this kind of pie in the sky and down into the mundane, is these reminders that are very tangible that we can use to bring in. Art for me at this point in time, often, not always, sometimes, you just want to do a quirky bird and have some fun. But for me, a lot of times it's a way of working, a form of magic, of creating ways for me to process what's happening in my life and internalize it more easily, and make it, and those things that I'm usually working with in those art, in my art journal or my art, are things that are kind of need to be acknowledged so they can work themselves out and do what they need to do to let me work to my fullest potential. Because part of magic too is presence, and allowing yourself to be called on your own bullshit, or calling yourself on your own bullshit. It's like I'm pondering a name change here on the channel, just because the reason why I have my Queen of Wands no longer exists. I had a different business where I was attempting to health coach, and that is gone. And as I was having the discussion with myself, and these are magical moments, these discussions with yourself can very much be a magical moment. And during this discussion with myself, the con side was like, but what if, people find out we're whatever, woo witch? And I'm like, we're already so far out there, it doesn't matter. And they kind of went, yeah, there's no reason. And that is in a way a magical act, that you are able to work through your own bullshit without having to use someone else. Not that sometimes you do need the outside validation to help you work through something. Not saying talking it out and working through other people, it's a bad thing, but without the magical work I do, I would not be able to say, hey, yeah, no, it's a load of BS. I'm already so out there. Facebook feed is full of wooey, witchy stuff. I post stuff from my Queen of Wands on it, and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. Might as well just switch over to my name if that's what I want to do. But magic, it's stuff that makes life fun in a lot of ways. The ritual aspect also, I think too, it's one of those things I think people it's like ritual. It must be big, it must be elaborate and formal. And I don't think magic always needs to be elaborate or formal. It can be, and there's certainly times where I have opted for very formal things as opposed to a more casual, informal thing. If I'm going on a journey work, I want a nice, tight, secure circle for me. If I want to show how strong my intention is in something, I definitely make sure to go the full scale ritual, as opposed to, it's a full moon, it's been a busy day, I want to acknowledge this in something, pull a card, light a candle. And ritual can be as simple as that. Or it can be calling in quarters, casting circles, dedications, journey work. So many things can be done with magic and the use of it within just daily life, and bringing ritual into the home as opposed to an outside source. There's, I'm trying to think, because I was raised Lutheran, so Easter was like candy. Christmas was Christmas. We didn't do a lot of like ritualistic stuff at home. Ritualistic stuff you went to church for, and I'm sure that varies. That's going to vary the whole span, because there's like Catholicism, I think, tends to have more of the shrine aspect at home than, say, any form of Protestant, because you had that whole image bad issue that happened early on. Well, was it early? No, a little bit later than early on. Icons and stuff. Icons have been an issue for years, centuries. I mean, that started like Byzantium. Icons are really fucking cool. But I digress. Magic, what does it mean to me? I think presence and awareness are two, well, they're kind of two peas in a pod, really. They're kind of the same thing. Without presence, you don't notice what's coming your way. Being very present, and I often tell people it's like, when you're doing the mundane stuff, that thought that pops in your head while you're doing the dishes is a powerful thought. Pay attention to it, obviously, unless you're thinking like, yeah, take the dog out, blah blah blah. But even that could be a powerful thing, because you take the dog out, then you find what you're looking for. Because a lot of times you go out and you take that ramble, go for a little walk, do something to try and, especially if you're looking for signs. And that's usually where I find my signs, is where I go out and I'm not really looking, but I am aware. And that's how you find an antler lying when you feed the horses. It's how you find a partial skull that the trees vomited up for you. That pretty stone that you take home. I found a hunk of a wood knot. I have no idea where it came from. It was along the side of the road, and it's absolutely freaking gorgeous. And I brought it home. Awareness and presence brought me to that, because I noticed it, because I was being aware. And at that point in time, I think I just had a shamanic journey with a colleague. She works in Chinese modality of the 5 elements, whereas I work with the Western esoteric version. So it was kind of the end result was kind of a weird mishmash of both. And I was working with a lot of wood issues at that certain point in time. So finding that knot of wood was very, very important for what was going on and what I was working through. And so you get things, and this does not just go for people who live in the middle of nowhere, because believe me, I've lived in the city, and I would do the same thing in the city, and you would find things. I was also known for like gathering seeds from my neighbors' gardens, like snip, nice flowers. I lived in Salt Lake in the Avenues. If you've ever been there in the Avenues, a lot of people have really nice gardens in their front yard, and come fall, I snap a head or two off a flower when they're going to seed. But you can find things. It doesn't matter in your city, rural, wherever. If you're looking, something's going to come your way if you need it. And it's can even be like an ad on a TV. Sometimes things get really weird that way. But for me, Magic with a K is something that includes a very broad scope of life, and for me is very inclusive as opposed to exclusive. And it reminds me to keep my awareness, to be in the now. It's helped me start moving from the heart, to check in there, especially if I'm angry or something like that. It's helped me move from a place where I can hold off a reaction. It empowers you. It can empower others. It allows me to hold space for people when they need it. And it allows me to work with guides, ancestors, all sorts of stuff. It's such a broad topic. It's like, how does magic mean to you? It means a lot, and it's woven through so many facets of my life. It's maybe one way to deal with that would be to maybe make some more detailed videos on the aspects of magic that I used other than divination, because I am a bit of polyglot. I don't think the word eclectic is a bad word, because even if you're identifying as a Druid or Celtic Wiccan, or many things that are based on past religions and mythologies, you're going to be eclectic to a certain extent because you're not always getting pure, unadulterated primary documents from the past. And even when you do, they're so old, you're like, I don't know what that means sometimes, because what was understood even 100 years ago is not necessarily understood today. So I think everyone, for the most part, is a bit eclectic. Yeah, I think everyone has a streak of eclecticism that runs through their faith and their spirituality at this point in time. And even with, like, say, ceremonial magic, that draws on several different different cultures to bring it all together. And I think when we start blocking out other ways of being, other forms of magic to explore, we start to cut ourselves off. It's like, oh, this is what I do. Magic is also very much an explorative matter for me. I'm always looking for new books and new things I want to read. What was her name? I don't remember the author's name. It's a book on hedge witches. It was very cheap, so I bought it. And it was very interesting, not so much the witch aspect in the book, but the hedgerow aspect, because I'm in the United States. I was born in the Midwest. I've spent most of my life out west. We don't have, like, English hedgerows out here. We just don't have them in the way that they are back in the UK. And so it was very interesting to read about the hedges and the environments that the hedges create, and brought a better understanding to the word hedge for me than what an American hedge is, at least in the Midwest or in the West. So, it's exploration. It's bringing the magical into the mundane and the mundane into the magical for me in many ways. Art is very spiritual, and I do a lot of processing there, a lot of spell work there. Magic happens with art, even if you're not really purposely creating a magical piece. Quartz can be magical. Jewelry, anything really that you want to be magical can be made magical. It's all in your intent, it's in the purpose that you use it, and how you want it to be. Because I think the more you bring magic with a K into your life, the more it does need to spill over into the mundane, that it can't just stay in ritual. It needs to move out of the specialized and into the not so specialized with life. Anything else I want to say? I think that is it. I might do some more exploration on stuff and doing some videos on aspects of what I use and what I do like to read, such as ceremonial magic, chaos magic. Even though I am not either of those, they do greatly influence me in thought forms. And the Western esoteric and ceremonial magic and chaos magic, to a certain extent, is also where I got my start. So I have some roots there that still tend to run strong, even though I'm very much kind of a go out there and find some stuff and use it kind of gal these days. So that is something I will kind of start thinking about exploring on this channel, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. Okay. That was Magic with a K. Don't forget the K. Talk at you later. Bye-bye.